welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. This is not a planned video today. This is one of my ficus trees. It's a Benjamina of some sort. I believe it's a Rianne, although it seems to have some of the characteristics that go along with, say, like a too little. You can see it's got lots of really healthy new growth. With the exception of that healthy new growth, this is basically how I found it after the hurricane. Out of the pot with nothing but the drainage screen attached to the bottom of it. I did a quick emergency repot, and when I did that, I actually had to kind of get it back in the pot, and then I just kind of got some substrate on top of it. It was kind of crooked in there. I was considering doing another repot, getting it into something slightly deeper, but then just the other day I saw it started getting all this new growth, and you can even see now, of course I couldn't see this before, but you can even see now it's got some healthy little white roots coming out of the screen there, where it was finally just kind of settling into that home. And then today, the last of my big contractors came. I still have a couple little small projects to kind of fix up from the hurricane, but the last of my big projects came, or the contractors came in. This is the way I found it again. I'm not mad, not happy about it either. Kind of wish they could have just told me, like, hey, we accidentally kicked one of your pots over. You might want to fix that, but found it like this again. And so what I'm going to do is I've actually got another pot. It's from the same potter. This is from a guy named Source on Bonsai Nut. But I've got, it's the same type of pot, a little bit deeper, quite a bit deeper actually. It's almost twice as deep as that one. And so I'm going to take the screen off, and I'm going to get it anchored to the bottom. That was actually part of the problem in that other pot, is that when it did blow out of there in the hurricane, it had pulled the screen out with it, which made it hard to kind of settle back in there the way it was. And if you kind of follow the history on this tree, this has always been in quite a bit of a smaller pot. It was a little experiment I did. But I had the one cutting that I always had in a bigger pot, and then I had always kept this one in a smaller one, just trying to keep them small. And sure enough, I mean, you keep a small tree in a small container, it stays small. You put it in a big container, and it got a lot bigger. The other one got a lot bigger. But I do think if I tie, a lot of people have actually given me trouble for not tying these screens into the bottom. If I had done that originally in the hurricane, when it blew out, it would have been a lot easier to do that quick repot, and it would have fit in there a lot better. When it recovered from the hurricane, it got maybe 10, 15 leaves on it, kind of sat there and didn't do anything for a long time. And now with the new growth spurt, some of these older leaves are obvious, kind of really big, and a lot darker green than all this new lime green growth. So I'm just going to get a handful of them and kind of out. Alright, and then before I take this screen off the bottom, I'm just going to take a toothbrush to it here, see if I can clean up some of this algae on the bottom of it. Alright, that looks a lot better. Alright, and then see how easy this is going to be to come off. Had a few of those white roots poking out of the bottom of it. Some of these roots that are circling are a little black. It's probably the reason for that slightly stunted growth there for a bit. Interesting, after looking at that, almost makes me want to just get it back into that same pot. But I think I do want to go just a little bit deeper. I'd like to let this guy stretch his legs out a little bit. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get this screen secured down in here. Quite honestly, if that hurricane had not happened, I never really would have had a problem with that screen not being secured. So it never would have flopped out of the pot. And then of course today, the contractors never would have been here to step on it. You know, hindsight being 2020, if I could go back and do the original potting, I would have put it in, so what the heck, might as well now. And got a little bit of used stuff I'll put back there in the bottom. Alright, I do think it's going to like its new home a little bit better. I think the pot being just slightly deeper should help with drainage just a little bit. And give a little more room for those new roots to just kind of grow into that better substrate. I did notice even in that old pot, that was back when before I switched to the slightly more expensive substrate, so. And just for a little bit of scale. And then right next to that guy was this guy. And I probably wouldn't even noticed until I went to water it that this one was also stomped on, if you will. It was actually smashed down in there. Still looked the same, just like from the house. But once I went to go pick that other one up, you could see it was kind of smashed in there a bit. And it also appears as if all these air pockets under here, and there was substrate everywhere. I think they actually kicked it out of the pot and they tried to do, I guess what you'd call a little emergency repot of their own out there. Which again, I much rather would have had them come tell me and let me take care of it than them trying to hide anything themselves. I actually had these two out there sitting pretty close together because I was thinking about them as a project soon. Take some of this and, you know, get some wire on there. It's all still nice and flexible. It's actually, this is not the bigger cutting, if you will, like that I was keeping with that other small cutting. This one's actually a child of that bigger cutting. I'll show you that one here in a minute. So this one's actually second generation from those. So as I've been looking at it, you know, there's like a lot of crotch growth. I'm definitely going to trim that today. When I did take care of that, I did want to also get some wire on it, but now I think because they got it so unsteady in the pot, I'm going to go ahead and just hold off on that. Sometimes I wish microcarpa were a little more like this. It seems like these will heal their wounds over a lot quicker than the microcarpa. And I notice it actually is because they get all that crazy growth kind of coming right out of where a wound used to be. And like I said, I'd like to get, some wire on that. Just spread it out a little bit, let it get out from under the canopy of the original tree. And then this one, now it's kind of growing up into that, but I'd like to keep the branch, and if I could wire it down and kind of get it out of the way there, that would help some. Alright, and with the camera off, I did take a couple more branches out. I do think I could really step this tree up quite a bit by getting some wire on it. But since it needs to reestablish itself in the pot again, What I'm going to do for right now is just kind of take care of some of these longer growing tips. I'm going to be careful not to get every one. I do want to leave a lot of momentum in the tree. But some of the ones that are a little bit longer, and then just let it go without wire for a few months here. Should give it a nice growth spurt. And with that growth spurt, it should reestablish itself in the pot again really quick. I think really of the three, this one may turn out to be the nicest looking tree one day, especially once the wounds get the rest of the way healed up. We'll see how it goes. Alright, and then there's this guy. This is the last one here. This is the one that I was just keeping in a much bigger pot when I took the cuttings at the same time. I took that small one. Those were both two cuttings at the same time. This one was a little bigger, but it really was just a little bigger. I just always had this one in a big pot. I always kept that other one in a small pot. This was actually a root over rock at one time, and these roots just looked like carrots hanging around the pot. I thought it looked terrible, so I just took it off of there, put it in this pot. This pot is eventually going to be a really difficult repot. It's a bag type of pot where all the roots can kind of go in that little extra bulge there, which, makes it nice and secure for sure, but it's going to be difficult to repot one day. Doesn't need it now, so I'll just let it go for now. This chop right here is where that last tree came from, the middle tree of the video. That's where that tree came from. And then this down here, that's actually where I did the wedge cut at one time, because this was just from here to here, had just nothing but a straight pole going there. And so I went ahead and just got a little movement in it. Almost healed up. It's going to have a little bulge there probably forever. But it turned out about like I liked to. That wasn't but, a year and a half ago or so, something like that. Came out looking all right. I am going to get some wire on this one. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through, and what I do here is just kind of on these smaller leaf Benjamina, or this is the only one I really got, but kind of bend it down and see what it would look like with wire on it. And then pop off the branches that now would be poking either straight down or straight up. And then also I just want to cut the ends off, just some. As I do get the wire on, I'll probably notice I miss a lot more of the ones that are kind of sticking down, just mainly because of this angle that I like to work on trees at, where I'm standing just above it. Don't really notice as much of the down growth as I do once I'm actually getting the wire on it, kind of taking a second look. But I'm going to try to get most of it now, just so once I'm wiring, I can just wire it without having to stop and think about this every now and again. Then you can see here, I did a big chop there. There's actually another chop on the back side right about there. And then this is all really young new growth. And I don't really want to wire any of that up. Kind of want to make that apex itself out a little over time. at some angles when I look at it, that really looks way too far out there. I have really started to consider, even though this is like an oval pot where that would be the front or that would be the front, but whenever I do get in a new pot, if I make this the new front, this side here has no visible scars on it now, and those really long branches would actually wind up being kind of back branches. But I do think cutting a little bit of off there helps. Even though I know that that's going to be the future front one day, or at least I think it is, I still sometimes can't help but to think of it as being a little more that way, just because of the shape of the pot it is. But it's a long time going, I mean, I plan on keeping it forever, of course, so I have a long ways to go with it. I didn't get any wire on any further than up here. Let's see if I can give you guys a decent look. This is the type of tree, it seems like no matter how often I check on it, it's like not growing, not growing, not growing, and then all of a sudden it's like the wire is like embedded in the tree. So I'm going to try, I promise myself I'm going to keep a closer look at it. And I got these longer branches down here, kind of held down some. And what I'm going to do is just try to keep a closer eye on than usual, not let it bite in quite as much as I have been. And then here lower, get some of these secondary branches a little bit better. And then go ahead and get some of these primary ones up top. And then also, as I was looking, I don't want the tree getting too much taller than it is. And I don't want to have to keep wiring the apex or anything either. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just take that down just a bit more. And let that be the new apex. Keep it a little shorter. More in tune with the pot and everything. Not quite have it so out of shape there.